So good afternoon. Thank you for attending this session. My name is Michael Reinhorn. Everyone calls me Mickey. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about data entry in a private practice that has affiliation with two academic centers. One is Tufts University School of Medicine, where we have medical students. The other one is Mass General Hospital, where we have some of our surgical residents. I have no disclosures relevant to this talk. I was overwhelmed when I first started working with the QC about 4 years ago. I felt like this was completely overwhelming, and how is this going to happen? So I started dissecting the problem into smaller and smaller pieces, and I had a medical assistant that was able to enter some of the patient demographics and get things rolling on the initial data entry, but my PA and I would spend a lot of time doing the data entry, mostly my PA, but I would spend hours doing the operative details. It was quite time consuming 4 years ago. I wasn't quite as busy, and so it was doable, but I always thought that there is a better way to do it. So about 2.5 years ago, our practice changed, much more focused on hernia, and I felt like this was an opportunity to delegate a little bit more of the work. And so we hired staff to be medical assistants who are applying to medical school and PA school, smart, motivated, driven people. Explained to them how important the QC was, both for quality improvement, but also for other things like friendship, relationships, peers, and mentorship that I've given and gotten, and felt that it's also helpful for negotiation with insurance companies. And so I really made it clear to my medical assistants. They started doing more and more of the work, and then my PA and I try to share the work, not exactly equally, but we try to share the work. I think that worked pretty well until COVID happened, and COVID both gave us enough time to rethink things and also not enough time to keep up. And so we really made it part of the job. And I feel like this is really the key to our success, is that the medical assistants have completely bought into this. They do 100% of the data entry into the QC. I do a lot of coding. And so what do I mean by that? In the initial visits, the patients are given a pre-op PRO. Our medical assistants enter that on the day of surgery. They enter the demographic, the common operative, on the day of surgery, or even when the surgery is scheduled. So that's all there ready to go. On the day of surgery, our medical assistants are in the office while I'm in the operating room. And so I put in the operative details of how big was the defect, the location of the defect, the type of sutures we used. Did we close fascia? Did we leave fascia open? Did we mobilize nerves, cut the nerves? I have templates for all of these things, so that all you have to do is look at my operative note and you know exactly what to put in for that particular operation. So our MAs do that in real time. As soon as the surgery is done, they go in and do it. So by the end of the day, all of our surgical data is in there. They also do the 30-day follow-up note after we put in our progress note in a computer. And then my PA and I typically remind the patients to do the PRO, the 30-day PRO. I think the most important part, and the holy grail of hernia surgery, is long-term follow-up. And here we devised a system almost a year ago now, where on the first of each month, they're printing out and downloading the list of patients who are eligible for 6 month, 1 year, 2 year, and next year will be 3 year in addition. They reach out to them by phone twice until they get a response. They found that that second phone call is a nice nudge to get patients to fill out the surveys. I didn't really mention much about 30-day PRO, except that my PA and I remind the patients to do it. Well, COVID was a problem for that. Before COVID, all of our patients were coming into the office. They were filling out a 30-day PRO on their post-operative visit. It was going in. We had nearly 100% capture rate. When we started working on this talk, I realized that our 30-day PRO rate was a lot lower. so that reminder that I tell my patients to go ahead and fill out the survey they got by email is just not good enough. And so we've reinstituted now that in addition to the 6-month, 1-year, 2-year, they're also getting the 30-day PRO on a monthly basis from the month before. And so it's a continuous process improvement of how we get data. We make mistakes as our processes change and our patients' flow change. If we don't make the right tweaks about data entry, some things fall through the cracks. And so I think one of the takeaways is that this is really an ongoing process improvement project. But really, I think that the 3 things that I'd like to emphasize is I think you want to build a system for your practice that really emphasize the importance of the QC and data collection. If everyone believes in it, if you're passionate about it with your patients, with your staff, then they're going to buy into it and they're going to feel dedicated to doing this work. And then I think the most important thing is create a system where you've delegated to the point where you're doing the least amount of work possible so that the data gets done. And so with that, I delegated this work as teamwork. So we created this presentation together. Elizabeth and Wanda, our current medical assistants, are applying both to PA school and medical school. They not only do all the data entry for the QC, they helped work on this talk with me. And so I want to give them credit. While I get to present the talk, they've really done a lot of the work. Lauren, my PA, does pretty much everything in the practice except the critical part of the surgery. And so I felt important to mention her, as well as some of the other medical assistants who for the last 2 years have done a ton of data entry. I think for our 6 months, we have over 240 patients in the last 2 years who have 6-month post-op data, PRO. So I think we're doing a really good job. We could do better. I'd love some feedback and questions if you have them. So thank you.